So I just wanted to make a short video. I recently got my rolls of Cinestill 400D in medium format in the mail from the original pre-order. I didn't actually order any 35 millimeters, so I was really excited to get these scans out and get the development done. So just jumping into things. Right now I have a few different situations. I wanted to capture how the film performed under a variety of lighting conditions. So I have tungsten lighting versus daylight lighting. I have high contrast scenes, I have low contrast scenes, and I also have some different colors just to sort of see how the film performs. I know the word on the street is that this film is actually 250D, and there's probably a lot of truth to that. That being said, working through this first situation we have going on here, I actually took my film camera along with my digital to shoot a promotional event for one of my friends, and really love how the film turned out. And this was all 400D on medium format as well. So this first scene, you'll see we have Josiah and his brother Jesse, and this is actually shot with tungsten lighting, and it's off camera right here. Very impressed with how the sort of skin tones held up here, given that we have mixed lighting, because the ambient lighting is daylight, and then the tungsten lighting, you can see sort of the yellows on the side of the face coming from the right. And I think it's a really, really smooth transition, and I don't really have any complaints in terms of how that came out. I really like how the blues pop, really like how the reds pop, outside of some minor adjustments to saturation. I don't have a lot, I haven't done a lot of editing or post-production here, just for your reference. We have some other shots of them on the couch. This is a situation where I used just the ambient lighting that was available. So this would be daylight balanced, and this shot is probably slightly underexposed, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. I was hesitant to overexpose it too much because I did not want the traditional red halation that's associated with Cinestill's film. But in moving outside, I took some photos of my friend Vince here, and even with pretty harsh sunlight, there's only very minor halations right here on the edge of the shoulder, as you can see. The edge of the white t-shirt kind of pops off, but it's not as exaggerated as you would expect. A little bit on the side of the face. I guess in my mind, I was comparing it to maybe closer to a Cinestill 800T look. And then moving back in the studio, again, similar situation with the lighting. We have Andy here. He's in a white t-shirt, and we have those red halations popping out as well. So anytime you have a high contrast scene, you're likely to get that halation, so just be aware. These are probably my favorite shots from this set that we did. Again, I think the halations bleed here, and they look pretty nice. And again, the blues, the reds, the yellows, everything sort of pops and has that classic feel that you're looking for. We styled this up with some vintage TVs as well. So overall, I think in the studio it went pretty well. And I was eager to kind of check it out as we went outside. I also visited Falling Water, which is a architectural building that was commissioned by, I believe it was Robert Kaufman, but built by Frank Lloyd Wright, which many of you may be familiar with. So Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water building here is actually built like on a waterfall. I have a double exposure here. Let's see if I can find the picture from across the way. And you can walk around the entire house. It's open to the public, and it's located in Southwest Pennsylvania. As you can see here I was kind of checking out what the greens and yellows look like. Anytime you have bursts of sunlight popping through the forest, you're going to get those halations. But I think it held up pretty well given the conditions. Again, I metered for the shadows. In most of these situations, this shot in particular I knew was going to be super contrasty. So I kept that in mind when I shot. I tried to meter in the middle to not bias the film to go one way or the other. Not in love with the color here. I might have actually overexposed it a little bit because the highlights are bleeding like a light blue. But next time I'll be a little more careful and a little more conservative in my metering. This is a similar shot from further away. I think either I believe my medium is the same, so the sun might have just gotten a little bit stronger for that other shot. Again, I think it holds up pretty well in these situations where you have pretty high contrast. These were shot through my Bronica SQA with a 40 millimeter lens, which is like a 20 or 21 millimeter equivalent. Not the greens you would expect from something like a Pro 400H, but I think they're satisfying greens nonetheless. I do think the greens look better when they're either slightly underexposed or properly exposed. They don't have the benefit of just being able to be blasted with light like Fuji or Portra, and everything kind of looking the way you expect it to. Now, moving on, I actually shot a friend's wedding and mixing up some rolls between Portra and Cinestill 50D and Cinestill 800T. I actually shot some rolls with 400D and 120 for this wedding. I know it was a little bit risky, but I had a feeling that it would turn out well, and for the most part it did. I got some great shots. Here's a shot of the bouquet that the bride held here. I think the reds really pop, the greens really pop. Again, similar situation. The bridal party was white, black, and red, so very strong contrasting primary colors, and I think those classic colors worked quite well overall. And to me, I love the contrast here between the reds and the greens, and the blacks and the whites. I think the colors worked out really well here. So it was a combination of, one, the film capturing those reds and greens really well, and then also the sort of situation with the bridal party having such a bright primary color. Again, classic look, pretty much exactly what you would expect. Nothing to write home about there. As you can see, there are slight halations that we'll get towards the top of the images here around the trees, where we have bright bits peeking out of light peeking out behind the leaves that are available. But for the most part, everything looks super solid. So I'm excited to use this film a little bit more. Again, beautiful skin tones, beautiful greens, beautiful reds. I will say, as we went through the wedding, I captured, again, ceremony. That's probably one of my favorite shots, again, with the 40 millimeter Bronica. The properly exposed, like nailed focus and nailed exposure shots just look absolutely stunning. There's like a warmth to the skin tones, the greens, the blues, the reds, all really pop. There are a few later that were a little bit overexposed, and I'll kind of show you what those look like. Here's the entire bridal party. Again, you get that halation, so just be aware of it coming in here, because we have such a bright white tint reflecting the light. But again, doesn't really affect anyone here in the midground of the photo. Now, I have some examples here. Let me see if I can find it, of shots that were overexposed. I think around like a stop or a stop and a half. We had a cloudy day with the sun sort of changing in its intensity. So in the rapid firing of a wedding, of course, the light's going to change as well. And my Bronica's meter actually bit the dust. I had a battery die on me halfway through. So I was estimating the exposures manually. And overall, wasn't really a huge deal, but there were a handful of shots, particularly where the sky or something bright was in frame, where you had something that looked a little bit overexposed. You'll know exactly if you overexpose the entire image, if you have these like light blues pop into the highlights, because the negative is actually exhibiting those halations over the entire frame, so it's cast in a red, and the scanning software is going to overcompensate and give you a blue, so just keep that in mind. Overall, again, I really love how these shots turned out. We really got some great action group shots. I really think more people should try and shoot medium format at weddings, and really captured the energy of the event. And I was really excited to get all the scans back. Just to give some references, this is 800T, which you're all probably familiar with. I did some long exposures at the actual wedding. Again, Warrior 800T, that sort of classic look. Obviously, the 800T has a lot more grain than the 400D. And then I do have some 50D in here as well. Let me see if I can find an example. The 50D, I think, was probably the best film for the occasion, given the way everything was structured outside. Really captured everything and gave me a lot of latitude, given that it was a bright day and we had really, really contrasty scenes because we have the white of the bride's dress and then the black of the groom's, and then the bridal party being a bright red as well. Really, really well suited to, I think, Cinestill's look over Portra's, just because the colors and sort of punchy nature of everything really, really work well with that Vision 350D stock over something like Portra. Now, again, this isn't an official review. I just wanted to give a short video to kind of show people what this film looked like and then what the sort of results are that you can expect. I'll probably do a more formal review later on with some additional shots and then better information in terms of some of the technical information that's available and some more exposure testing and performance reviews on how this film works in a variety of lighting situations. So outside of that, if you like the content, feel free to drop a comment. If you've got your roles already, let me know how that experience has gone, or if you're waiting to develop them yourself. If you have any issues shooting the film stock, feel free to ask questions below. And I'm excited to sort of get more content out. I'll post these probably on my Instagram in the coming days, so I'll link that in the description below as well. So thank you.